How's it going, Ram fans? Welcome back to Monday Night Sports. I'm Madeline Davis.
And I'm Ella Fredrickson, here as always to update you on how the Rams have been doing over the last couple of days. From some trouble down in Las Vegas for Coach Medved and crew,
to Cam letting you know what he thinks about a CSU legend's upcoming draft stock.
And of course, we're back with some more fun discussion and game picks for the upcoming week in Out of Pocket. All of that and more on CTV Sports, which tips off right now. Well, Rams, for our first story tonight, as weird as it is to think about at this time of the year, I'm back on the topic of CSU football. That's right, CSU football. But don't worry, we don't have to talk about this squad for too long. But still, I'm sure you're probably wondering, why are we talking about this team so early into the offseason? Well, just last week, the Rams' 2022 to 2023 schedule was fully unveiled. Just take a look right here, and with this in mind, let's dig a little deeper and see what new head man Jay Norvell is really up against in his first year in FOCO. But first, let's give you some background info. Coming into this struggling program only a few months back in early December, the former Nevada HC seemed real motivated to change this losing culture for the Rams football team from the jump, saying this place supports football, this place is committed to football, and this place wants to have a winning championship program. And okay, while that type of optimism is really great and all, it unfortunately won't last long, because CSU starts things off in the big house against one of the top teams in the nation, Michigan. So needless to say, my prediction for the outcome of this one will probably not change come August, but regardless, heading into the big house to take on one of the most dominant teams from last season, making it a fun test for the young Rams squad nonetheless. They really have nothing to lose, so it's not like I'll be upset if they take the L, which I can almost guarantee that they will. And looking down the schedule sheet a little bit further, come early October, the Green and Gold goes on the road to take on the Nevada Wolfpack for another conference matchup. But more importantly, this marks Jay Norvell's return to Reno to take on the team he left in the dust just a few months ago. And when you look at this one from solely CSU's perspective, the 42-point dub that Nevada put on the Rams to end out the season isn't exactly an encouraging sign towards a different result this time around. But with Steve Adazio finally out of the picture, I believe any miracle is possible for this squad, which, yes, does include a revenge game against a Wolfpack program that's, to put it bluntly, lost a lot of talent since we saw them last. And man, going through this game by game would be tiring. And as hard as I try to break it down, what to look forward to in the fall, you know what they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And that's the exact approach that this new coaching staff took for their first schedule reel. Just check this out.
Here we go. Week 10, going to get the boot.
Can't draw straight.
Week 11, Air Force Academy.
Yikes.
It's like a slice of pizza. Week 12, we got New Mexico.
2022 schedule. 1, 2, 3, go Rams!
Now, as much as I would like to say I'm not a bad artist, I think most of them did a better job than I would have done with those logos. And with the border war returning to canvas this year and not having to face off against the defending champions, SDSU, this is a season that I'm actually looking forward to for once. Wow, it is weird to say those words when talking about our football team.
And okay, enough with CSU football. Let's get back to our bread and butter, Rams hoops. After what had been arguably their hottest streak of the season up to this point, CSU continued their extended road trip out west to take on the UNLV Rebels on Saturday night. The team who, yes, gave the Rams their first and so far only loss at Moby a couple weeks ago. And sure, while I think most of us were expecting the Rams to bounce back and get some revenge down at the Thomas and Mack Center after Bryce Hamilton completely annihilated CSU the last time out, that was far from the case in this one. With things following an even worse script for the Rams, coming up short once again to the running Rebs, 51-72. Like I said, things seem to follow the same story as last time, with CSU simply unable to stop the Rebels' offense all night. And sure, while the Rams did do a better job at keeping Bryce Hamilton at bay, they just couldn't seem to stop the rest of the squad from making bucket after bucket. But even with this in mind, the Rams' 11-point deficit at the half was at least better than the 18 points that they had down here last month. And once again, things got even more out of hand in a hurry, with the Rebs upping their advantage to 20 thanks to a 3-for-3 mark from downtown to open up the second half. And the Rams' problems definitely didn't stop there. Not only could the green and gold not get a stop to save their lives, absolutely nothing was falling in favor of CSU either. And I get it. I know Nico Medved said no excuses, but you have to wonder if 5 cities in 12 days, travel troubles in New Mexico, and the lack of a shoot-around in Vegas beforehand led to some of these struggles. With all of that moving around, I feel like this game was bound to happen eventually. And moving on to the stats, the Rams really seemed to struggle in every possible category on Saturday night, even the ones that they're known for dominating in. Like their field goal shooting percentage was at a shockingly low 34.6, and don't even get me started on beyond the arc, which was even worse at 22.7. All of this seems a little uncharacteristic for the team leading the Mountain West in three-point percentage and points scored per game. But it just seemed like that kind of night, I guess. And the uncharacteristic night for the green and gold can be further seen in the individual numbers. CSU was led in scoring by junior point guard Isaiah Stevens, who put up 14 points, which isn't that bad, I guess, but it hardly compares to the 35 he put on the board last time these two teams met. And then there's everyone's favorite former football player, David Roddy, who only scored 11 points and went for a shockingly bad 4 for 14 on field goals. That's right, 28%. To put this in perspective, this man is averaging 57% on the season. And the struggles didn't stop there. The bench, which has been a huge factor in the success of this squad as of late, when it combined 3 for 10 to only score 7 points on the night. Needless to say, the Rams need way more from their role players. With the loss last night and an SDSU win, CSU is now sitting at 4th in the Mountain West with a 21-4 overall mark, and all 4 of those losses came in conference play. But to look on the bright side for a sec, the Rams will at least finally get a little bit of rest before perhaps the biggest game of their season when the border war continues here in FOCO this Wednesday evening at 7. Let's hope the Rams can bounce back and take that much-needed dub. Well, Ella, I don't know about you, but this was, it was a little disappointing, but I wouldn't say that it was unexpected. I think it just happened to happen against UNLV.
Yeah, usually we see at least one shining star in our CSU basketball games. You know, someone comes up big, rebounds, no turnovers, but this one was just an overall mess. And I honestly do think it was because they were tired. They needed a break
so
before
tired.
This game.
Well, and they were originally supposed to have a bye week, but then because of COVID issues, they got scheduled in Boise and New Mexico back to back, and so I think it was just a lot.
I think we'll see a completely different team against Wyoming after they have a couple days rest.
For sure, yeah.
And on to some more hoops news. The Lady Rams traveled to Reno yesterday to take on a worthy opponent, the Nevada Wolfpack. And although the green and gold proved themselves against this team earlier in the season, being on less familiar turf always adds an extra obstacle. But even with this added challenge, the now 18-7 green and gold came out hot. And when I say hot, I mean dropping 20 in the first quarter alone. Not to mention that 12 of those points were from downtown, and they also held Nevada to a single-digit 8-point opening. But would you even be a Ram fan if there wasn't extreme emphasis on the sweat and tears? Just when everything seemed to be working smoothly, it wasn't anymore. But with it being this late in the season and the conference tourney just around the corner, a win is a win. With CSU finishing at the buzzer up 7 to take the dub 62-55. And more importantly, if it were to come into play, this W gives the Rams that tiebreaker over the Wolfpack in the Mountain West standings, thanks to beating Nevada earlier on this year as well. But as the final score indicates, in the following second and third quarters, CSU just got outscored, and badly, I might add, putting them down with less than 4 left to play. So where did we take the game back, you might ask? Well, with an Upe Atasu breakaway, which tied things at 53, followed by scores by Kendall Kinzer and, of course, McKenna Hofschild, who closed things out the right way. And speaking of our favorite stars for this team, let's get into the number side of things. The glue of this game, Atasu led the scorers with a solid 18, while Kinzer and Hofschild were right behind her with 14 and 10 respectively. And on the other side, you already know that down low, Carly Murphy would come through, putting in another 11 boards to help out. And dribbling over to the overall marks, CSU shot an inconsistent 40% rate, but luckily enough, the Rams were able to balance this out by holding Nevada to an even lower 31. But through all of this, my favorite stat from the game has to be a brutal 31 turnovers combined between the two, with 16 of which actually coming from the winning squad. Following this inconsistent dub, the Lady Rams returned to Moby on Thursday evening to take on the San Diego State Aztecs. And in this one, I'm just hoping that there will be some revenge basketball played so that the green and gold can avenge the L they just took last month down in Vejas.
After all that basketball talk, let's just dive right in and see what the CSU Swim and Dive team were up to down in Texas this past week at the Mountain West Championships. To kick things off, the Rams started the meet on the right foot by breaking a school record in the 800-meter relay with a time of 7:14.08, which shaved 1.89 seconds off their previous top mark and placed the Rams in 4th overall for the field. And moving on to later in the competition and onto the board, freshman Lindsey Gizzy competed in what she said was her least favorite event, the 3-meter. Now obviously, as you'll see with the results, the young diver didn't let this discomfort stop her from performing her best, going on to score a 3:17.60 in the qualifiers to lead her to the final, where she demolished her previous personal best with a 3:38.0, which also secured the second best mark in CSU history for the 3-meter. And the success for the Rams didn't stop there, as they ended the championships just how they started things off, breaking another school record in the 400-yard freestyle relay with a time of 3:21.59, which broke a record that was set all the way back in 1994, back when 6-time Olympic gold medalist and arguably CSU's best athlete of all time, Amy Van Dyken, was still on campus. Here's what team member and junior swimmer Sarah Mundy had to say about shattering Van Dyken's mark. It's unbelievable what she's been able to accomplish, and I think it's a huge honor that we're able to continue the CSU legacy of improving times. With all these brand new bests, the Rams finished out the meet in 5th place for the 3rd consecutive year with a total of 760 points. And looking at the overall season for a sec, the Rams finished an amazing 14-0 and should be incredibly proud of how they performed. They'll look to keep this momentum up next season and of course improve on that 5th place finish come next year. And with that, Rams, now it's time for a very quick break.
When we come back, Cam breaks down the NFL draft odds for one of our favorites here on campus. You won't want to miss it.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably going to turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right?
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
What's up, Rams, and welcome back to Cam's Corner. I'm your host, Cameron Evig. As of last week, the football season for Pro Bowl is officially over, but you know what that means. The NFL draft is coming right up. And CSU actually has the chance to have a player go in the first round since 1987. See what I think about Trey McBride's draft stock and where I think he would fit best in the big leagues. All that and more on Cam's Corner, starting right now. As I said at the top, 1987 was the last time the Rams had a first-round pick in pro football, and I can guarantee you that you would not be able to guess who it is. It was this guy, Kelly Stouffer, who was selected 6th overall in 1987 by the St. Louis Cardinals, and no, I'm not talking about the baseball team. And another fun fact is that if we go even further back in time, CSU actually had a player go overall 2nd in the draft. That's right, number 2 in the entire 1979 draft, and it's none other than D-end Mike Bell. Mike went to the Chiefs and went on to have a decent 12-year career, all with KC, while Kelly, on the other hand, well, he only played 22 games in the NFL and had a 7-touchdown to 19 interception ratio in that little amount of time. Ugly, to say the least. And as we mentioned time and time again on this show, the Rams have also had some great success when it comes to their wideouts, with Olabisi Johnson going to the Vikings in 2019 and Michael Gallup in 2018 to the Cowboys. And with all of that historical context out of the way, this recent first-round pick slump for CSU could finally all change. thanks to their Mackey Award-winning tight end, Trey McBride, declaring for the upcoming draft. The recent CSU legend is going to rightfully test his luck in the pros after 4 amazing seasons with the Rams, which included a breakout season his senior year, where he put up a whopping 1,121 yards receiving and 2 total touchdowns. And with that, obviously comes the pro projections, with Trey seeming to be a front runner for that spot at the number 1 tight end on most people's board, and most importantly for him and his family, the first at his position drafted. So with this in mind, the real question is, when will he come off the charts? And, looking at every team's needs, there's several clubs that I think Trey would fit perfectly for. And while I'd love for the big man to be in a Broncos jersey come to the end of the draft, tight end 1 is one spot that the Broncos are actually set at, with Noah Fant and Albert Okwuegbunam already making plays, so it's pretty unrealistic to see him staying home. So where do I see him going then? Well, it's a division rival, the LA Chargers. Young star Justin Herbert has all of the weapons in the world, but the one target that he's missing in that offense is an explosive young tight end. Especially with Jared Cook set to hit free agency, and with Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, and of course Keenan Allen already in the fold, adding big number 85 to this already dangerous offense seems like a no-brainer for this Chargers O to hit an even greater level. And now moving on to what Trey has done more recently in his draft preparation. Even though the Fort Morgan native definitely raised his stock at the Senior Bowl, the Chargers probably won't be taking Trey in the first round if that is the route that they decide to go. I mean, their defense is so bad, but hey, they do have an early second-round pick that they could use on the big tight end. So my guess is that the CSU GOAT is going to be in Los Angeles come May, even if it doesn't break that first-round drought. And just to cover my tracks, in case I'm wrong, which I rarely am, other teams that I could see him going to include the Packers, Jets, and Bears, all of which could use an upgrade at tight end. But anyways, all I know is wherever Trey goes, he'll end up making an instant impact with how pro-ready his game already is. And well, Rams, that's all my thoughts. Stick around after the break for Out of Pocket. We'll see you in just a sec.
Queen is just my everything. Right now, I wouldn't know where my life would be without her.
They say chivalry's dead. It's not. Terrence is a gentleman. He opens doors. His smile did it. His smile, his eyes, his knowledge. My landlord, he decided that he wanted me to move based on the fact that I was transgender. It takes me to a place of no hope. It takes me to a place of loneliness. It saddens me. When you discriminate against somebody in housing, where do these people go? Let's just respect people in everyday life for just being human.
What's up, Ram fans? We hope you enjoyed the break. Welcome back to another edition of Out of Pocket. Unlike last week, I don't have any apparently life-changing videos to show you, so let's get right into the debate. This week, I actually have a take of my own, so here it is. I know it might be nice to finally beat UNLV this year and take them down in the Mountain West tournament, especially on their home turf. But I don't think that it's out of pocket to say that this talented Rams team should not want to see UNLV come March. What do you guys think about that one?
I mean, I think it's a rare and strange occurrence when a team actually has a kryptonite, but that just seems what UNLV has been for the Rams. I mean, I don't know if it's a mindset thing, a thing where Isaiah Stevens just happens to lead the team and that's not normal enough to take the win, but it just doesn't happen. And when March is when you want to play your best basketball, you don't want to see the team that's taken you down twice already.
Yeah, for me, it's interesting, right? Why is UNLV the team that is beating CSU? the other losses we got, Wyoming in overtime, San Diego State, who we don't even got to talk about that game. But the 2 losses to UNLV are very puzzling. And for me, it's their ability to shut down David Roddy. Both of the games, UNLV did well on David Roddy, and unfortunately, CSU just doesn't win very many games when Isaiah Stevens is the leading scorer.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it comes down to what they always say in baseball. At the end of the day, you are who the back of your baseball card says. And history shows that UNLV has had a very strong record against CSU. I believe that coming into that game on Saturday, UNLV was 45-19 when it came to beating CSU. Yeah. And so I think that a lot of people disregard history, but history is very important when it comes to sports.
Absolutely. And okay, enough with that. Let's turn the page for this team and pick their upcoming matchup against the hating Wyoming Cowboys. But first, here's the pick'em records up to this point. As we see, me and Madeline are phenomenal, and Ella is just not very good at this. So, we were all inconsistent last week, and we all took the L when it came to picking the Rams against UNLV. But hey, at least Coach Williams and his team came through and beat the Pokes, right? Ella's still down 1 game, so we'll see if she can catch up. She probably won't. And with that, let's look ahead to Wednesday, where the Rams take on the Pokes in the second round of this year's Border War right here on campus. Do you guys think the Rams will bounce back from the massive L that they took down in Las Vegas this week?
You know what, Cam? I do. I do think they will. Okay. Because let me explain a little bit why. So first of all, I think that they were they were just tired on that road trip. It was long, and they played so hard in all of the games leading up to that. I think it was just unfortunate that it had to happen against UNLV once again. And so I think that, obviously they played very uncharacteristic basketball from what they have the whole season. And so I think that, and especially after Wyoming's last away game, blowout loss to New Mexico. New Mexico, that has to be on the front of their minds. And they got to win against Air Force, but Air Force is, 2 steps above San Jose State? They're not a particularly strong team. So I feel pretty confident in my pick, which is CSU.
In shorter terms, I don't think that's what's going to happen, and let me tell you why. I just think CSU and that roster, including the bench, is in their own heads right now. I think regardless if they were tired or not, that was a rough, brutal loss. And I think Wyoming is a team that just messes them up on the court regardless. The border war is something that will always mess with their heads when they're on the court. Fans, even though they're going to be in Moby this time, the overtime loss last game when we played them, I just don't see it happening, and that's why I'm sticking with Wyoming again.
For me, Graham Ike is one of the best players in the nation right now. Top 50.
You can't deny it. Graham Ike and Hunter Maldonado, they are a power pair, but so are Roddy and Stevens.
Sometimes.
And he is my pick to take the Mountain West Player of the Year right now. Mm-hmm. He is playing phenomenally. And if CSU is allowed to have fluke games against UNLV, we got to be fair. So can Wyoming. And that's exactly what the game against New Mexico was. I think that right now, Wyoming and CSU are 2 very even teams. And one of the issues that I'm seeing for CSU is their bench play, specifically. John Tonje in a starting role, although he deserves to be starting, I liked him so much better off the bench. And Adam Thistlewood's still recovering from the injury he had, not at 100%.
Yeah, he's not the same.
But moving Thistlewood back into that starting rotation, having him just do his job, which is stand behind the arc and shoot threes, and having Tonje lead that bench unit is what I personally think they need to go back to. And they got to win these next 2 games against Boise and Wyoming. I think that they can lose one of them and still have a good shot at making the Mountain West or the NCAA tournament, But I got Wyoming in this game. I just do not see how they can do it. CSU, a terrible loss, but I think Wyoming can do it, and I think Wyoming's going to come into Moby and pull it off.
Yep, well, with me and Cam in agreement, let's move on to our last game of the night. CSU Women's Hoops takes on SDSU a day later on Thursday. Will they keep up their winning ways as of late and get revenge over the Aztecs?
I think they will. I think that CSU women's basketball has been looking really strong at home lately. A lot of their more recent home wins, like the win against Nevada, I wasn't completely expecting that one, and that one wasn't even close. And same with Wyoming. Wyoming was coming off a hot streak coming into that game. Wyoming came off of 4 wins, and they were averaging like 60, 70 points per game. CSU kept them to 45. I think that the CSU women's basketball team is looking hot right now. I think they're peaking at the right time, and so that's why, once again, I'm sticking with CSU.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were some sloppy moments in that last game, even though they did come out with the win. But if they are able to pick up those mistakes and get them back where they were, still on their hot streak, I mean, Madeline, you said it best, they look incredible. They look incredible, and I just think SDSU is not the team that's going to take them down and take them away from that hot streak. And for that reason, I have to take CSU for this one.
Listen, if CSU can figure out how to be consistent throughout the entire game, they're going to be a tough squad. And I'm not saying they got to score 20 in each quarter like they did in the first quarter against Nevada. I'm saying against Utah State, they couldn't get a bucket in the first half. And against Nevada, they couldn't get a bucket in the second half. So what happens when you can't for me, although they won both of the games, it was a little too close for comfort because they can't keep the consistency up. I'm still going with CSU to win this game because I think that they are on a hot streak as of right now, and I think that they could compete and potentially be a dark horse to win the Mountain West tournament.
Yeah, they just need to start ending games on their own terms, and that's it.
No, I kind of want to elaborate a little bit more on that point. It's just it's a little strange like watching them play because they either come out really strong or they come out slow but they finish strong. Right. And so right. I think I do fully believe though that if they could come out strong in the first half and the second half, if they could put that together, I do believe that they have a chance at winning the Mountain West tournament. I really do believe it. I don't want to say that I think that there is a team in the Mountain West tournament that particularly is more talented than CSU.
Yeah, I mean, you hear, they're a first half team, they're a second half team. With CSU women's basketball, it's, you'll find out in the first half of the game, or first 5 minutes of the game, which half they're going to play better.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you really don't know. You don't know with the team. You don't know where it is. Home and away, it doesn't seem to matter at this point. It's just a first or a second half, and they need to play in both.
And for me, I think what's really interesting is last season we saw both teams have a shot to win the Mountain West tournament, right? We were confident in the women, especially coming into last year. Andy Brady was playing phenomenal. Those year before. McKenna Hofschild was playing phenomenal, and Kelly Murphy was playing phenomenal as well. And this year it's the same thing. Both of the teams have a shot to come in and win. Men's side's going to be a little bit tougher. I feel like the women, you got to go through New Mexico, which are phenomenal right now.
New Mexico is a really strong women's team.
But if you could get through New Mexico, for me, there's no team besides New Mexico that they definitely cannot beat. And I think that they have a shot to beat New Mexico if McKenna Hofschild and Lupe Atasu keep playing at this phenomenal level.
I will say, though, the UNLV for the women's basketball team has been Air Force. They should have won both of those games against Air Force, and they lost both of them. So I know. I think that it could go either way. I think that both teams have a really strong chance, and we'll just see what happens.
For me, it's Carly Murphy. Carly Murphy is the X factor for this squad. If she can play interior defense well for the Rams team, that is the one place that they have been struggling, the one place where you can see other teams beating them. The Utah State Center had 34 points in the paint to almost lead them to a victory. Carly Murphy needs to play well.
Yeah, they need to clean it up.
Yeah. Well, with that, that's everything we have for you tonight, Rams. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully, we'll be back with some good news when it comes to Wednesday's matchup against the Pokes.